How's it going, everyone? One of the big jobs I've been wanting to tackle on my classic 900 is restoring my bumpers. So today we're going to give it a shot. If this isn't your first video watching on this car, you'll know that this thing has a ton of cosmetic flaws. You can probably see a few just by looking at it from right here. But the bumpers are one that I'm confident, at least semi-confident, that I can take a stab at restoring myself. Today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to be doing both the front bumper and the rear bumper, which is even worse than the front bumper. In order to do that, we have a few things that we need. First off being our prep. So for our prep, we're going to start off by wet sanding everything. This is some 300 grit, 600 grit, and 800 grit sandpaper, along with my sander here. Then when we're ready to paint, we're going to be using this specific color paint. This is recommended from all the 900 guys. This matches perfectly. So here's the brand and the paint code right here. This stuff is pretty expensive. There's only one shop in the entire Phoenix area that had it, and it was about a 35-minute drive. So they only had 2 cans. From what I've been told, that should be enough for both bumpers. And then we have 1 can of just generic black primer. Last thing we'll do after all of that is done is reinstall the white, or I guess it's technically supposed to be chrome trim that goes around all the bumpers. So there's actually a very specific place you can buy this. I'll put the link at the top of the description for you guys if you're interested. But Matt from Saab Parts saw I needed some, actually had a spare that he sent out to me that he was going to use on his 900. So a huge thank you to him. If you guys need anything for your Saabs, as always, check out Saab Parts. Very knowledgeable, very helpful guys, and help support them because they are one of the big reasons why many of our cars are still on the road. But let's go ahead and get into it and remove the bumpers. Removal of both these bumpers is supposedly very easy as far as I can tell. So on the rear bumper here, there are 2 brackets that we need to take the nuts off from. So if I come under here, you can see there's our exhaust right there. And if you look right above the exhaust, you'll see there's 2 nuts that need to come off. The other side over here has the same thing, so we're gonna have to remove all 4 of those to start. I know that there's a way to remove this trim. I just couldn't figure it out quickly in looking at it. So I'm just gonna damage it a little bit to get this out, which is fine because it's being replaced anyways. These front bumper bolts are a pain to get out, if I'm being honest. So there's one on each side underneath here. So if you come up under the car, you'll see all these fins, and right where the cutout is, it actually makes it easy to locate it. Look straight up in there, you can see the hex head. It's an 8mm. So I tried thinking maybe an Allen key would work. No way, the impact was barely able to break it loose. Thankfully I had an 8mm hex socket, but let's get this thing off. Gonna be completely honest here, I have no idea what's gonna happen with the fog lights. It does look like I have quite a bit of other things that I need to disconnect here, so we're gonna save that for last and put that back on there for now. After having removed 4 of these side panels, all of which are mounted in the same way, I think I've finally figured out how this actually is supposed to come off quickly. So you have 2 screws, 1 in each of those holes, that screws right in this metal plate here. Now, I've been told you're supposed to be able to just slide it back and forth and it comes out. However, when I tried that, it didn't work, and the reason is you slide back and you pull up. You can see the cutouts in the bumper right here, or on the fender, I should say. So clearly that's the easy way to do it. I took an extra step here that I didn't need to. Probably would have saved me 5 or 10 minutes, but oh well. This is already starting to feel like the whole dashboard adventure did, if I'm being completely honest. So there are a lot, and I mean a lot, of imperfections in this plastic. I went ahead and got rid of a lot of them with this 300 grit sandpaper. Especially like right here, there was a bunch of scratches. Up here was really bad. So I got a lot of scratches out on that one. But that's about 40 minutes of work, most of it by hand. I only did a little bit with the machine that you guys saw that I filmed. But I'm kind of scared for when I start to get into this kind of stuff all over the bumper. So this is not going to look 100% perfect by any means when I get done with it. I'm gonna have to keep telling myself that, but at the same time I want to try and do this the best I can. But wow, this is just taking a long time. Bit of an update here. I've done the 300 grit on all 4 of the side panels. Thankfully these weren't very bad. The first one I did was the worst by far. So it's, you know, it's more just trying to sand down some of the light scratches that are on here. Like these couple on this one, I got down a lot better than they were. I haven't perfectly cleaned this because I still have a lot more sanding to do with different grits. But I'd say overall, all 4 of these are not looking too bad. Now it's time for the really tedious part, I guess. And this is gonna take forever, so I'm gonna jump right into it. The sun is now almost setting. I've been working on this for about 4 hours and I'm still on the first round of sanding for all of this. So bit of an update though. I did find some 220 grit in the garage. Now because my bumper has so many imperfections in it, this section right here was really bad and it's looking a lot better, as along with over here it's starting to smooth out a lot more. Over here I haven't touched yet, and you can kind of see that's what all of this was looking like before I touched it. But this 220 grit is doing a much quicker job of getting rid of a lot of these imperfections, or at least making them less noticeable and smoothing this out. So I'm hoping that I can finish this up before dark. I might have to save the 600 and 800 grit for tomorrow, but I'm thinking those couple rounds of sanding also won't take as long. But starting to look a little bit better. I think I probably should have gone with the 220 grit from the start. Next day here, and I've worked on this for another 3 or 4 hours. The 320 grit is done. The 600 grit is also done, so I just have the 800 left. However, I'm starting to run out of sunlight here, so I might have to call it for today. But this is, like I said, definitely not perfect. There's just so many imperfections. I mean, keep in mind, these bumpers are 35 years old. I mean, this is with a lot of aggressive sanding, and the only way to really fix this is with some body filler. After how it went with the dashboard, I'm not going to be trying that again. But same thing goes for the front bumper over here. The front bumper isn't as bad as the rear one, but I've got to do some more sanding with the 800 grit, and then hopefully we can start painting this, because this has once again been a very, very labor intensive job.
Tomorrow.
The 800 grit sanding is done, and to be honest, I only spent about an hour on the entire set of everything for the 800 grit. I don't think it really did that much in terms of taking some stuff off. It kind of just smoothed everything out a little bit more. But everything is cleaned and it's ready for our primer. So we're gonna do 2 to 3 coats of this. Hopefully this can is enough to cover everything. I've been told it should be fine, but I guess without further ado, let's go ahead, get into spraying it. Just finished up 2 coats of this. Everything is completely covered. I've got enough left in here probably to just go around and do a little bit of touch up, which, given this is primer, I mean, it doesn't need to look perfect. I just want to make sure everything is covered. So a couple issues I ran into though. I have to get better with a couple of weird angles, especially on the back bumper. I'll show you in a second, but there were also a couple spots where I'd spray it and it just started spraying some drops out as well that got on here. I don't think that's a huge deal. There's a really big one right there. But again, these bumpers aren't perfect to begin with, so I'm not gonna be too upset. But here's where you can maybe see where I got a little bit of a drip right there. I kind of came up on it like this, and I stopped the can for a second and was still spraying. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this can off after a couple more minutes of this drying, and then we'll let this all sit out in the sun before we can actually put the gray paint on. I was just looking at this and I realized it's for steel, aluminum, and stainless steel, which is clearly not that. Oh well, too late now. 3 hours later, the primer is all dried up. So I think we're gonna start putting the actual spray paint on here. Unfortunately though, it's that time of year where the sun is way over there. So about 80% of my backyard is not in the sun for this, but that's all right. We'll make do. It's just gonna take a little bit longer for all this stuff to dry. Two coats are done. I've emptied out the first paint can. I think these 4 pieces here, I'm just gonna touch up and do like one more somewhat light coat on, but you can see this paint has a lot of flake in it. This looks so cool. Obviously all these little scratches, imperfections are showing through, you know, as I expected, which is totally fine. But look at the paint itself. You can see why this costs 3 to 4 times as much as the general off-the-shelf stuff from Ace Hardware. But these all look pretty good. These, I've been going over them with my shop light to get as much light on them as I can. And there's definitely some areas here. That's why I think this bumper and some parts of this bumper need a whole heavy coat still. But these, for the most part, I think are looking pretty good. So catch up with you guys in a bit. 3 full coats on, and I think I'm just about done. I've got maybe a third of a can of this left, which will be nice to hold on to for touch up and things like that. But it's time to let this dry. I was literally spraying my last little spray before I stopped, and it squirted out a bunch of freaking bubbles right onto there. So that's so annoying. I'm probably gonna let this dry a little bit more and maybe try and go over it just a hair to clean it up just a little bit. But that is so annoying because I can't really do anything about that right now. It's the next morning. I brought these inside overnight, but I just put them back out here in the sun. I'm seeing them for the first time in the sun, and man, this turned out so good. There's a bunch of little scratches and imperfections still, just because I would have had to spend probably a whole nother weekend trying to clean all these little scratches and things up. But I got a lot of them out, and just look at the flake in this spray paint that you can see right here. I mean, it just looks so good in the sun. I had no idea it would have this kind of flake in it. I'm super happy with how this all turned out. It looks like I won't have to do any sort of touch-ups as far as I can see. Now, I have a question to pose to all of you. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, I have this chrome trim that goes around all the bumpers, front and back, and then there's also a piece that goes in each of the side panels as well. I was thinking it over some more. I kind of like how it looks without the chrome strip on it, but I want to know your guys' thoughts. So please put a comment down below. Do you think it'll look better with the chrome strip or as it is right now? That's kind of what it would look like with the chrome. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of chrome, so that might be why I'm not really feeling it. But if I do want to put the chrome on later, I can. It won't be too hard. But yeah, I'm super excited. Let's get this back on the car. I got to take all this back out to the garage. skipping ahead a bit here, I wanted to do the same shot I did for the front as I did for the rear, and I got about halfway through the front when I realized I forgot to hit record. So I apologize about that, but as you can see, bumpers are back on the car. Fog lights are in, everything. I did get a bit dirty with my hands, especially when I was doing the rear, just because there's so much crud back there. So there are a bunch of like dust prints all over the paint. And I went to start to kind of wipe them off gently, and I figured I probably shouldn't since the paint's still curing. It takes 48 hours to fully cure. So like back here, I've got a bunch of dust marks on here that'll come off. But I'd say overall, this looks pretty sweet. Not sure how I feel about the trim still. Let me know down below in the comments. I'm debating it mostly because of these big ugly holes right here that are in all the side pieces that trim would cover up. But on the front and rear bumpers, I think it kind of looks better without that trim. But once again, guys, let me know what you think down below in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Take it easy.